Well, thank you very much indeed, and I hope I can not only follow effectively after two professors, but also that introduction. What an honour to be here amongst so many friends, but also so many different countries in terms of people who have a passion for agriculture and the opportunity that it offers. For me, I did my Nuffield some 3 years ago. My journey was kind of from Totnes to Toronto to Taipei. Kind of a song in there, from Toronto to Taipei, I think. But in terms of what it offered me was, where can farmers actually play a part in this whole agenda around food and health? And just to give you a little bit of a quick introduction for what I'm going to be talking about, we're living in a VUCA world. I'm going to talk about the SDG and, of course, a little bit about what we do. You've already had the great opportunity to see several leaf demonstration farms. You've met with Catherine Green and Quentin Clark from the leaf team over the last few days. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about leaf and then talk about changing farming, changing food, and changing behaviour. And VUCA world. Well, we live in a volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world. I've got a teenage daughter going through her A-levels at the moment, AS levels. I know what volatility is about. It is that whole experience where you don't know where it's come from, you don't know where it's going, you don't know how to solve it. And when it's over, you've forgotten about it, or it has been forgotten. And I think certainly in farming, so much we actually are dealing with very volatile situations that are quickly forgotten. And so it's working out how do we really drive some solutions in this space and area. And part of the framework for what should actually be providing a policy opportunity is the Sustainable Development Goals. The Millennium Development Goals are about developing countries. The Sustainable Development Goals are about developing and developed countries. And so we really should be looking to some level of the leadership of those 17 areas within there, of which food is a key part, and we provide part of the solution. But of course, as been highlighted previously, we are not very diverse in our diet. Neither are we, of course, in the food we produce. 75% of our cropping comes from 12 plants and 5 animal species. In fact, 60% is from just 3 grass-type species: rice, wheat and maize. And when you look at the fact there are 300,000 edible plant species, of which we've only pretty well cultivated some 150 to sort of 200, actually we are not using the opportunity of biodiversity, working with nature and the diversity within our diets. And of course has been well illustrated the changing dietary aspects around us. Increasingly urban society. 88% of the UK is urban. With that comes a lack of connection with nature, understanding about food production, and of course, understanding about exercise and health as well. I know I'm married to a dairy farmer. I wear a Fitbit. I'll walk, 3,000 to 5,000, hopefully sometimes 8,000 steps a day. Phil, by 9 o'clock in the morning, has done 9,000 steps. By the end of the day, at least 22,000 steps. That's because he exercises as part of his rural life. And with an urban society, we of course become less mobile. And then, of course, has been highlighted this whole area of balancing our own needs. And apologies if you can't see this fully, but the graph, the pie chart on the left, is what we should be eating. This is actually on a global scale. So this is the Harvard Healthy Eating plate, very similar to the Eat Well plate. 50% should be down to fruit and veg, 20% cereals, fats, oils, about 3%, meat, beans and other protein sources, 20%, milk and meat products, about 8%. The right-hand one is what we are actually producing. And I think that is really a real strong illustration of we're just not getting it right. And so we are reformulating food, we're making food into things that is not creating the health. And part of the challenges in this urban society, of course, is some of the other campaigns around what we do. There's the whole of January was Vegan Week. We are about to have Vegetarian Monday coming up this week, next week rather, and of course, alongside that, people not really fully appreciating the complexity of why livestock farming is actually an integral part of good, healthy farming systems. So the balancing is very key. So it creates this situation, why should farmers really care? And it's also where many farmers are, just wake me up when they've made a decision out there, because I'm going to bury my head in this. And I think this is actually where the real opportunity, which has already been amply highlighted. The National Health Service is principally dealing with trying to make people healthier, people that are ill making healthier. Actually, farming should be about creating health. We should be part of that solution within the National Health Service. And so where we sit as an organisation, we're very much a bottom-up organisation, and that's something that's very key for me. We are very practical at LEAF in terms of looking at how do we make things work. And so our vision is a world that is farming, eating and living sustainably. Our mission to inspire and enable people. We're not huge organisation. We employ 15 people. In fact, for the first few years, as you can probably see, Susan and I are both about the same height. We're quite small. We were all under 5'4", but now we've got some blokes in there, so we're a bit higher. But in terms of the strength of our organisation is very much about the farmers that we work with. So you met Penelope and Jake yesterday, the Braggs, who are leaf demonstration farmers, and many of our leaf mark growers, who are very much about inspiring other farmers to change and encouraging the public to get involved in the story behind our food. For us, sustainability is through integrated farm management. If you can imagine, if you've ever been to Cirque du Soleil, the clowns there will juggle 9 balls. This is what a farmer does every single day, juggling 9 balls. And in terms of that, it's that whole element of setting the framework behind the fact that we have an integrated solution for sustainability, driving the integration of the environment, society, and of course, farm economic viability. But it all has to be about attention to detail and the site-specific nature, delivering more sustainability. But you can always question about how does sustainability run up? It is about continuous improvement. And we offer, our work is principally around 3 core areas: the demonstration farmer network, the marketplace for driving change, not only for farmers, the great pull for farmers, but also for consumers, and then a big public engagement campaign. You've met the demonstration farmers, but with regards to leaf mark, the Mercers yesterday, you will have seen one of our leaf mark growers, but 34% of UK fruit and veg is now leaf mark certified. These are farmers who have got a commitment not only to food health and quality and safety, but actually to environmental change. And we're now operating in some 36 countries as well, which again is very important. Are we just about sustainability for the UK consumer that are from British farmers, or actually is this a global challenge? And of course, it is a global challenge. We need to exchange ideas, identify opportunities for trading, and really drive change from that way. So leaf mark for us has been a very, very core part in terms of trying to not only encourage farmer change, but actually presenting something in the marketplace. And now some 16% of UK consumers will identify with leaf mark in terms of recognising it in the market. And you'll hear from Duncan, one of our leaf mark growers, as well a little bit later. And then reaching out to the public. Now, this Sunday is Open Farm Sunday, so for any UK farmers here, we have now had our rain, so thank you very much indeed. Can we now pray for sunshine, please? Because Open Farm Sunday provides an opportunity where hundreds of farmers are opening up. This year we've got 350 farmers opening up, some 10,000 people in the industry will be helping out, and providing it's not raining, we hope that we'll get around 260,000 people out onto farm to really kind of understand and discover the story behind our food, because everybody loves to touch a farmer, and boy is that an opportunity for us as an industry. In terms of when you look at learning, and Susan's highlighted about this whole area of changing behaviour, The more senses you touch, the more we remember. And, you know, you can go through to a 3D cinema, you can even now go to a 4D cinema. But the ultimate 5D experience is what we have as a farming industry. It is out there on farm. And that drives our whole element of getting the joy for what people get. So in terms of actually the opportunities for changing farming, we have, of course, breeding. The whole area of yield improvement, of course, our resistance in terms of not only biological but also physical disruption that's going on and stresses, and enhancing the nutritional qualities. As Michael has said, we really are not moving very far in terms of trying to drive those nutritional qualities. But there is such an opportunity, particularly when you look at the range of biodiversity that we really haven't touched and exploited. There is, of course, beyond that, the resilience, the importance that actually trying to, you know, where are we? We all know that we're driving for a more sustainable farming system, but actually where does the resilience fit in? And to me, actually, resilience is our capability to deal and drive sustainability on a day-to-day basis. So we need to be able to kind of, you know, take the punches in terms of where we are as a farming industry. And you can see here Harvest Plus and Harvest Grain, which is actually some of the developments that are now going on in breeding techniques as we live in a heavily cereal-based diet situation where a micronutrient deficiency is an absolute challenge, not only in the Western world but also across in the developing countries. So that is where we really should be looking to drive and build on. And I know Tina will be talking a lot more of this in a few minutes. And of course, we have the excitement that happens with big data, precision farming. This is a cross-lot cedar that's the sort that you would have seen out on Jake's farm in terms of where does minimum tillage fit in? Where are the opportunities for us to really drive change? But any intervention, you know, I will often hear researchers say, oh, well, why don't farmers change their farming practices? Well, every change has beyond it in farming a multiple of other changes. And it's important that we actually do know the full impact. And this is where data transformation and how we utilize the data that we're acquiring. For many farmers, it's sort of we're sort of drowning in information but hungry for knowledge, and that translation is very, very key. So changing farming, of course, is very important, and so much is now going on in terms of soil, and we've talked a bit about bugs already. So, but if you start remembering that the soil microflora and fauna are absolutely critical. Just in a teaspoon of soil, we have more microorganisms than there ever have been people in the history of the world. And so you start remembering actually just how alive our soil is and actually how little we know in terms about those interactions. And on the right-hand side, this is our gut. I was reminded by one of the scientists from IFR, the Institute of Food Research, that actually we're only 10% human. 90% of our DNA, in fact, are in all the bugs that are in our stomach. And I think that's a critical element. We still do not treat them very well. We do not give them the fibre they need. We don't give them the microorganisms and the food. And this is where there is such an opportunity for us to start changing and looking more effectively at food. Changing the packaging, changing the inherent qualities that we forget about. This is the nutritional facts about a tomato. Every time we buy loose produce in the supermarket, we never fully appreciate and recognise the inherent characteristics that those fresh fruit and vegetables have. And with 40% of our food now being eaten out of home, this is becoming a key challenge. But this is where Brexit has an opportunity of labelling and trying to break some of the mould. This is New Zealand fresh, well, it's a packet of vegetables at the end of the day, lettuce, but it's vital sight, vital heart, vital nutrition and vital bones. And we just suddenly actually think, well, there are ways of changing that marketing. Right through to the development and marketing. This is Barley Plus, with Barley Max being the key area that's been driven through Australia. The pill of concentrated broccoli, perhaps some pharmaceutical opportunities for farmers, but at the end of the day, it's broccoli. and then the real drive and transformation that's working in the development in Africa with the orange-fleshed sweet potato and the vitamin A enhancement. Some very good, successful stories. But of course, this is about changing behaviour too. And I just want to show you this little clip because I think it makes a bit more of a point. I don't know if you know Jimmy Kimmel, but
people are very
this
interested
is
in food
a good
nowadays.
opportunity.
People who don't even cook watch cooking shows, and everyone has an opinion on what you should and shouldn't be putting into your body. Lately, I don't know if it's just here in LA, but people are very anti-gluten, which bothers me because I'm very pro-pizza, and you can't be pro-pizza and anti-gluten. So now some people can't eat gluten for medical reasons, which that I get. It annoys me, but I get it. But a lot of people here don't eat gluten because someone in their yoga class told them not to. I keep asking people about this, and I started to wonder how many of these people even know what gluten is. So we decided to find out. Gluten, in case you didn't know, and I didn't know this, is a mixture of 2 proteins found in wheat and some other natural grains. But here in LA, it's comparable to Satanism. So we sent a camera crew out to a popular exercise spot right up the street from us to ask people who are gluten-free a simple question: what is gluten? What is this thing you will not eat? So we're going to meet a person who doesn't eat gluten, and together we're going to guess if they know what gluten is. Are you ready? Yeah! What else do you have to do? All right, let's
Do you maintain a gluten-free diet?
I do indeed.
And what is gluten?
Okay, does he know what gluten is? No! Oh, everyone says no.
Well, as far as for me, how it affects my body,
But what is gluten?
this is pretty sad because I don't know.
All right, we have one more.
Do you maintain a gluten-free diet?
I do. I actually don't eat rye, wheat, oat, bran, dairy, nuts, or eggs.
Wow. What is gluten?
Does he know? Does Jewish John Hamm know what gluten is?
It is part, I believe, of the wheat that... I really don't know. It's in rye, wheat, oat, and bran. So that's what I started.
I gotta go pick my kids up. Leave me alone. Maybe gluten doesn't exist.
It makes a good point in terms of actually a lot of people do change their behaviour, often driven by fads and enthusiasm, but actually don't always know the reason why. And I think this is incredibly powerful, and we should be using it not only, recognising that actually we need our facts. We need to be really geared up as a farming industry to know a little bit more about foods, because one of the things that really I found alarming when I did my Nuffield was that, we only eat 10 actually regular meals, of which the pizza is one. And in terms of other diets and dietary requirements, we're not very ambitious. And as a farming industry, we should be the epitome of health. We are about food. And actually, perhaps we need to know a lot more. So in terms of where there is other opportunities of changing behaviour, there are a lot of things. This is a vending machine selling local fruit and veg in Japan. There are enough vending machines, one vending machine to every 23 people in Japan. And when you start looking at that, these are the sort of changing fads that are increasingly happening. And then, of course, there are personalised messaging. In fact, there is a Swedish company that now has implanted microchips. It's about the size of a rice grain between your thumb and your forefinger, so that when you go into work, not only are you clocked in, but also if you're using the photocopier, the coffee machine and things like that, that is all recorded. Now, there's opportunity beyond that to actually have within that your health, and we are increasingly seeing that. And of course, personalised health on things like contact lenses, and where the real opportunity going forward is about where government has that area for change as well. I put at the bottom right-hand corner a thing called Soylent. You don't need food if you eat Soylent, and this is something that is just a shake that is full of nutrients and things like that. And so there is the opportunity within this to actually, well, they've got a 3-month waiting list. If you started thinking about, wow, if we had a 3-month waiting list for our food, goodness, that's a different perspective. Government interventions in America, the food system is that actually if you are on stamps, you can double the value of your stamp if you buy fruit and veg. It is win, 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 win. This is usually in more deprived areas. It's driving them to eat more fruit and veg, more family integration, reducing the BMI, and it's increasing the fruit and veg production in the farming sector as well. In Sweden, another drive is where they have been integrating the health and the farming and the education. And we're starting to see that coming through in Canada, in the Canada Food Guide as well, where they do recognise agriculture should be part of that. So changing behaviour is about integrating people at all ages as well. It's about education and it's about driving change, whatever age people are. And I leave you with some potential solutions in that really we should be working to actually fully integrate food and food policy around nutrition. We should embed health as a value when we buy our foods and, of course, enhance and embrace more diversity in our food and farming, making agriculture work for nutrition and improving production, fruit and veg prescriptions and opportunities, and, of course, linking agriculture, nutrition, health and the environment. Thank you.